Welcome to the Filmmaker Mixer Podcast, the podcast by filmmakers for filmmakers.
This episode is sponsored by Gemini Crown Tech, software for all of your production needs. Stay tuned for more information later in the show. Hello, everybody. This is the Filmmaker Mixer Podcast, and today we are continuing our coverage of the Austin Film Festival, and we have maybe actress Stephanie Hunt, who might jump in later. She's running a little late today, but we do have directors Nick and Josh Holden, and they're going to be talking about their film Sellout, which is going to premiere right at the Austin Film Festival?
Yeah.
Awesome. That is cool. Well, Josh and Nick, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us, Jeff. It's an honor.
Yeah. No, I'm excited to talk to you guys. I have not seen the film, but I've seen the trailer and it looks amazing. And it's funny, you and I were talking, well, the three of us were talking before the show that we just live a few miles apart and have never met. It's crazy. And I noticed you got a lot of my friends in your movie. You got Bill Wise, who I've worked with a bunch of times.
Oh, wow.
Rob Bassetti, I know very well.
Yeah, Rob.
Jimmy Gonzalez, I've worked with him
Yeah, you know
before.
Jimmy?
Yeah, I know Jimmy. That's
Wow.
crazy. And did I see John Hortzman or no?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Because he wasn't in the credits, I don't think.
Well, he makes a cameo. you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know John as well. It's a crazy small world.
Wow.
It's so weird. Anyhow, so let's jump in. So give the audience the pitch. Let's start with you, Josh. What's the pitch of Sellout?
All right. The pitch. It's always a hard one for us, pitching the film. You want the long one or the short one?
Give the
Give us
long
what-
one.
Yeah, give us the best one you got.
The best I got. Okay. So it's a murder mystery novelist, and it's post-COVID. So his first two books did incredible, and his third one gets canned by his publisher. So he's trying to figure out what he's going to write next. And he's simultaneously researching. He's thinking about maybe leaving the murder mystery genre and starting to do something a little heavier, and he's researching to do a book about the 91 gubernatorial race when David Duke almost beat out the incumbent governor, Buddy Roemer. So he's researching that, and he's from Louisiana. So when he's learning about that, he's learning about his past and his home. And then he's also questioning what it means to kind of live in today's world where, what does selling out mean? Is it selling out? Is it surviving? And his sister's getting married for the third time in Louisiana, who Stephanie plays the sister. And she's like, I married once for love, twice for sex. Now I'm doing the noble thing. I'm marrying for money.
I mean, I'm assuming since you're brothers, you maybe got into film and storytelling together, but we'll just start with you, Nick. How did you get interested in filmmaking? Did you get the bug as a kid? Did you make little movies with your friends? How did it start?
So we did so we're brothers, and so as a kid we did have some camcorders, and I was notorious for taking the camcorder out when we go out for like weekend parties. I'd love to take the camcorder out and just film everybody, and then we'd all film each other, maybe having drinks and stuff. We were a little young, but kind of part and just making jokes, doing like Chris Farley sketches. So I did love just capturing kind of life, and I was real obsessed. Get real obsessed with movies, and so like Dazed and Confused, I watched that movie all the time. The Doors, I'd watch that movie so I just kind of would get really
Taxi.
obsessed with these movies.
Andy Kaufman, Taxi.
Andy Kaufman, I got obsessed with him. So I would just watch movies a lot, and then when we didn't, in Louisiana, it wasn't really like something a lot of people pursued. It kind of felt like, oh, people do that, in those other places. So in like a twist of fate, I wound up in Austin. It's a long story, but I wound up here, and we had this guy, Stephen Bruden, who was like my parents' good friend. And Stephen was giving us some advice, and him and his wife Mary got me into acting. Josh moved here 6 months later, but got me into acting and music. And so we were playing music first, but I started studying with Marco Perella, and that was just such a fun way to I don't know, it was just a good way to like meet people and kind of figure out who we were outside of Louisiana and our childhood home.
That's crazy hearing all these names. Steve he was a good guy. I really like Steve.
He was a good guy.
And Marco, I saw him. I cast a short film from his class, and another good guy. All these Austin names. It's nice. Well, so Nick, you came here first.
I came here first, and
And
then he came 6 months later.
and so you guys are musicians as well, or?
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you play?
I play guitar, and Nick plays guitar and
Piano,
writes a bunch of
write songs,
songs.
mainly write songs and sings. Yeah.
You know, your brothers, you got to do something separate. You got to do something different.
Good
Yeah.
point.
Right.
You know what? I'm out of here.
I paint. I paint. Okay, that's what I do. Josh is a good drawer though, but yeah, I don't know.
So,
I don't know what we can do different. I don't know, Jeff. We don't.
so
I cook. I
hey,
cook a lot. I don't think Josh cooks.
I don't cook.
He doesn't cook.
well,
So
Josh, where did this idea come from? Was it
Where, was
Josh,
what?
Nick? Where did the idea come from for the film?
Oh, for the film?
Yeah,
Loosely based on personal life to some extent, but for us it kind of birthed kind of during COVID, just with
gotcha.
everything going on.
And
Uh,
and how do you when you get an idea
yeah.
and the two of you are going to break the story, how do you work together? Are you guys like beat sheet people, save the cat? Do you just spitball? What do you do?
It depends on the project. And for this one, we spent maybe 5, 6 months just filming, because I can shoot and Nick's a great at acting. And so we were really like, we didn't know if Nick would play the lead part.
right,
Um, so we did a test shoot and we filmed for like 6 months. We go around, we just get our actor friends to come out for the day and be like, hey, here's the scene, let's improv this and do this. We went to Louisiana and we interviewed local, local people there and had Nick in character interviewing them. And then we cut a teaser out of it, like a 10-minute teaser tonal piece.
yeah,
Because our thought with that was like, we were like, man, on the first film we made, we just, found the tone 6 or 7 days into making the movie. We were like, it'd be so great if we could develop the film and find the tone before we could even start shooting the
right,
feature.
right.
So that's what we did. And then we just kind of split up scenes and hashed it out. And um, yeah, just kind of, I don't know. We're the type of filmmakers definitely who we
Yeah.
write it, we have the script, and then when we're shooting, we're kind of evolving it and rewriting the whole time. And then when we're editing, we're rewriting it the whole, a lot of times. For this script in particular,
But,
because
but to,
we,
to break the story though, but to answer that one question, so we did kind of coming out of COVID, getting back in the world. I had actually ran into Stephanie, and she said she was doing this exercise where she was just kind of collecting a lot of jokes. So I just started trying to collect jokes, and then collected a bunch, and then I went to Josh and kind of had this character, and then so often we'll like one of us will go to each other with ideas and be like, "What do you think of this?" Because we usually have a bunch of ideas, and it's like we always are like, oh, if we can have like 6 ideas that you're gonna, so you don't get too married to one. But it was like, oh, and this one was kind of taking interest in it, and so we start, and then we do beat sheet, we get note card. We were doing this thing, and we got in like the second round of the Sundance Labs, which was like basically they just said we'll read the script, but it was still a nod from
Yeah.
Sundance, which was really cool. And so we ended up taking this collabs course, and they were teaching a lot about like A story, B story. And so we were really trying to be okay, what is this? Because we're big character people first. So often our scripts will have tons of big characters. But we're like, let's really try to figure out an A story, B story. And then from there, that really went to like, well, let's really, what are the things we really want? And like, what are the things that, make us like vulnerability was a thing that we kind of kept looking at and be like, okay, what are the things that are bothering us today? What are the things that we're really worrying about? What are we concerned about as parents and with kids and so that's where and then we get in the garage and we beat sheet with note cards and that's just we kind of keep going beat sheet and then we take the beat sheet to the outline which is like a way more flushed out and that takes quite a while and then when we get a good outline so that's what we've gotten better at over the years is really getting a process. We used to just get an idea and go write it in script form. And then that's just a lot harder to change script form than it is note cards and
yeah, you
outline.
get older and you just don't have the time. So you got to break the story. You got to break the story first, right? And figure
Well,
out, is this even worth spending time on?
and I find whenever you write the pages, you're so much more married to it than when you
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
putting it on note cards and in an outline format. Because then you're like, okay, I didn't spend what? I mean, it's usually can write a scene a day or something. So that's you spend a whole day on it. You really don't want to go change a whole. It's just easier to stay loose with it and not be married to the stuff and let it evolve. Because we do kind of look at our films and like the writing is a phase, the shooting is a phase, the editing is a phase, and the music is really almost like another phase. But it's like we're trying to stay open to make the best film you can as you're going, and especially when you're working on these indie levels with limited resources, you may not get the things you want. So how can you be flexible? There's quite a few jokes in there that we just couldn't afford. So how do you stay flexible, keep the spirit of the film, And so yeah.
Yeah, we were talking to one of the writers of Inside Out 2 and from Pixar, and she said, and this floored me. She said when she does a rewrite, if I remember correctly, she starts fresh every time. She doesn't go back to the existing script, which is
Really?
kind of
Wow.
that's kind of terrifying to me to think.
Wow.
But she was just so focused that she would have this idea, and then when it was time for rewrite, she would just start fresh with the new ideas, which is kind of crazy.
Wow.
Um,
But I wonder what kind of memory. I wonder if she has like a photographic memory or something.
yeah, I guess so. I don't know.
That
Well,
sounds really hard.
so what was your footprint like on the film? I mean, I know a lot of these independent films, they got to be lean and mean and get things done. What kind of crew did you have for this?
You know, we started out just Nick and I, and then uh, as things progressed, we started to kind of raise money. But still, a couple days into shooting, it was just Nick and I.
So you were raising money while you were shooting? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
Yeah, gotcha.
well, yeah, it's like
Yeah.
right to the
For a certain amount of time.
for a certain amount of
Not the
time.
whole time. But like we were just
And
trying to get some stuff off the ground. So,
yeah,
Right.
but so we just couldn't reach out to anyone because we didn't have the money to make it yet, at that time. So we finally started to raise some money, and then we reached out to uh, Taylor Cameron and Eliane Fenton. They're two DPs, really talented in town. And so they both came on board, but they could only each do a couple days each. So that's why we got both of them to do it. And then I would shoot the other days and get some young talented people that we work with a lot to come help us out and cam off and things like that. But that's really the intention behind that. Was we were like, you know what? If we shoot this thing with our camera, it's just a GH6, it's nothing fancy. It's $1,000 or $2,000. Then we can just keep shooting as long as we need to until we finish the film the way we want to finish it. And we can go to Louisiana, just us, pick up all those shots. Like, we just didn't want to get caught in a situation where it was like we need the Alexa and the AC and the second AC, which
right.
is incredible for certain types of films. But for this, it was very much like we don't have the budget for that. And for us, we're prioritizing here more performance and story and locations and dynamics like that. So we chose to just figure out, how do we shoot this thing with this cheap camera and two lights? You know what I mean? It was not a big crew at all. And some days we would schedule it out where if it was a really big day, we would bring on a much bigger crew. But some days it was two of us, a sound guy and maybe a gaffer. Some days it was maybe 10 at the most. I don't know. What do you think, Nick? How many?
Yeah, I think 10 a
Yeah.
lot of days, but I mean that's the ideal. I mean that's the luxury of me playing the leading role, which we weren't designing it to do. I just was playing the role. It's very, personal project. So everyone's like, oh, once they saw the teaser, they're like, you really should play the role. But that's one of the benefits of that is we didn't have to have a lead actor that we had to get out in 18 days. So we would be like, hey, we're shooting 2 days. Okay, this actor isn't available for a week. Let's wait a little while. And then we're shooting these. Oh, we can wait for this location. So that let us really just focus on making the best possible film we could and not having to worry as much about schedules and we really got to just take our time with it. And
Some days we just shoot 2 hours, just one scene because it's just us, and maybe one other actor. Where there's such a luxury to that versus when you're trying to rush to fit everything in exactly 15 days.
right.
And we just like to explore and have the time on set to do a lot of takes if we need it. And like Nick said, some of the things we wrote, we weren't able to pull off with a budget wise, so
Are you saying they were like bigger set pieces, you mean? Or
Yeah,
how
there's
do
like
you,
a water
certain
skiing,
ideas and
had a water
designs.
skiing joke that was funny that we just
Yeah.
couldn't get a boat, couldn't get water ski, a lot of things like that. It's like
Yeah.
we
We had an
really
idea. We had an idea where, like, during mid conversation, when him and the sister were painting, and she would get him to hold a camera and jump, and drop paint, and it was like that scene from Dolly, where the cat's flying in the air. So that would just happen at 240 frames per second. And then we got to set and we were like, we're never gonna, there's no time or budget for this and all that. And we're not gonna prioritize that over the heart of the film, and what we really need to get.
But we were watching a lot of screwball comedies and really watching some Cary Grant films and really trying
Oh
to
yeah.
find some physical humor and some like how can we get some like physical comedy in this film and just the mannerisms and stuff. So yeah,
Tap into your Billy Wilder vibe, you know?
Yeah.
yes, love Billy Wilder. Uh,
So, what was the overall timeline on this? So you were shooting when you could at first, and then I'm assuming once you got a certain amount in the can or raised the rest of the money that you needed, is that when you brought in some of the other cast? Or tell me about that. And how did you find your cast? You went through a casting agent, or
Well, so first so we started out just me and him saying let's test some scenes because we were thinking we would just make it real small and we let some people read the script and they're like, hey guys, this is really good. People would really love to work on this project. Y'all really should try to get some like more experienced crew members. So we're like, okay, well, so let's shoot a few scenes. So we started doing that, and I kind of knew once we started we weren't going to stop. So we filmed just me and him from like November till March, just a bunch of different scenes and then edited something that people really liked. And that was like a 10-minute piece. And they were like, oh my God, y'all are really onto something. So that was in like March. We had been raising money for the whole year, trying to raise money. It was going really slow. And then we started shooting in July and filmed basically through the fall. And then come about October, we start editing and get it and realize we have like a 3 hour cut. And we which was our goal. We said, hey, we want to be in the editing room with more footage than and we cut all these scenes together, which are all really individually good.
Yeah.
But when we put them all together, it was 3 hours. And because we did a lot of, I mean, it's probably pretty close to the script, but there was definitely a lot of improv. And we just kind of, but it was tight enough to where if we weren't going to improv, we had what we needed. So, and then we edited, and then we had to take a few jobs in between and stuff, but we edited. And that took about a good year.
We were, we have a video production company too. So we're working those jobs. And then I had a 1 year old and we're editing at my house, so we're
totally.
trying to figure that. We're editing after work for a while, but like Nick said, we couldn't do it all the time,
Yeah.
And it was, it was one of those things too, where like Nick was saying, our goal was like, all right, how do we get way too much good footage where
Yeah.
that's our problem. Not like, oh no, we don't have enough footage for this. So
Right.
that's what happened is we started cutting all those scenes together and they were all great on their own, but they were all 5-minute scenes because we were shooting these long scenes. And then when we pieced it together, it was 3 hours. So we said, okay, no one's going to watch a 3 hour comedy. They don't know what we're doing here. And including us. So then it was really easy to get it from like 3 hours to 2 hours, but then to go from two, to 90 minutes like that took us a year,
Wow.
like,
And so us two worked on it a lot, and Michael Green, who's a co-producer,
yeah.
he helped, he was in the editing room a lot. And then when we really got kind of stuck, we had a couple test screens, and Tony Costello, a friend of ours, came on and he helped really cut about a good 7-8 minutes off of it. He edits a lot of like, he edits on a lot of like TV shows and stuff out in LA. And so he came on and really helped us get that last bit off, which was hard. And at 3 hours, it was really hard. I didn't really know what to cut, but Josh had a good idea what to cut, and so he started cutting a lot. And then I think he got it to a spot where he didn't really know what to cut, and then I knew what to cut. So it was like,
Yeah.
and there were Michael. So it was,
Luckily we have this really talented guy, Michael Green, he's like now our third brother, so
Yeah.
he stands in between the arguments and tells us, no, like, what are you talking about? What are you doing?
Yeah.
Yes. He helps out a
So
lot.
it was just we got to take our time on this film and kind of know, hey, let's we'd always gotten that advice, don't edit for a festival. So like just kind of take our time. We submitted a couple rough cuts, but for the most part, we're like kind of feeling like let's just really because the film will live forever. So let's just get this right. And then when we're done, we started on the music, and our good friend Mario Mattioli, that's one of our favorite parts of the first film. He comes over and he has a kid now too, so we have to do it on like once every night, once a week. So for like 2 months, he would come over, me, him, Josh, and Michael Mario had a bunch of ideas. We had a bunch of song ideas, and we'd all just compose and record songs for the movie, try them out. And then we brought in Danny Levin. We needed a couple like really cool jazz songs, and then Danny did some stuff. And then we brought in Brandon Temple and Chris Marsh, who's like our favorite rhythms. It's like a dream rhythm section. They both played with Steven. So we went to the studio. So it was that whole music part took a good 2 or 3 months to just really get that right. Always kind of feeling like this feels like a really good time to release the film. It feels very timely and just like a good time to release it.
Well, that's awesome. Well, before we wrap up,
Yeah.
tell the folks when you're screening, and do you have like a website or a social media, location where they can get updates on screenings? Let's start with Austin. When you guys premiering?
So October 23rd at
23rd.
6:30 p.m. at the State Theater. So
Nice.
we have a great screening, great time slot. It'll be that first Thursday night, 6:30 at the State, which is a great theater, very intimate, and in downtown, with the marquee and everything. So that'll be awesome. The second screening is October 30th at 7 p.m. and that's up at Galaxy. And so
Hey.
that's a smaller room. So I would just advise getting there early for both of them if people want it.
And you guys are gonna be there for Q&As for both of them?
We'll be
Yeah,
there
we have,
for Q&As.
It looks like Jeff Nichols is going to do the Q&A on Thursday the 23rd,
Nice.
which is a
Yeah.
huge honor. So
Yeah, that is cool.
yeah.
Yeah, and then we'll go to Fort Worth November 5th to screen at the Lone Star, and then Louisiana we'll go play in Lafayette, which is where some of the movie takes place, and then we're talking to a bunch of other festivals. So I think we'll do a festival run like this year and some into spring, and then hopefully distribute in the like late summer. So
Awesome. Well, that's great. Well, I hope to see you guys down there at the festival. I'll be
Okay,
running
you gonna be
around,
there?
and I will be there.
All right.
All right. Well, congrats on the film, and Nick and Josh, it was a pleasure chatting with you. Don't hang up. I want to talk to you just for a few minutes before I let you go. But thanks again. It was fun.
Thanks for having us, Jeff.
Okay.
All right. Take care.
This episode is sponsored by Gemini Crown Tech, owned and operated by Stephanie Moore and Stephanie Harrison. We at Gemini Crown Tech have covered all your production management needs with our proprietary software. Please visit our website at www.geminicrowntech.com and use the code FMP for Filmmaker Mixer podcast listeners, so we know how you heard about us.
Thank you for listening to the Filmmaker Mixer podcast, a podcast created and hosted by filmmakers Jeff Stolen and Andrew Lamping, and produced by Melody Lopez.
Our theme song was composed by Stephen D. Bennett.
Make sure to follow or subscribe on whatever platform you're listening to us on, and stay tuned for future episodes.